Hello, good evening, happy Tuesday. Here we are as always, and thank you for being here. Hope you are all doing well. New week. Last week we talked about Pluto and the Sun entering Aquarius. They are both there now. So happy birthday to all you of Aquarians. So hopefully that is all going well for you. Let's pull our intention up here for this week. Intention's always released on Sunday, so that way you can spend a little time with it yourself. And I hope you take the time to do so, even if it's just, a couple minutes before the meditation. Like if you are joining us here at 8:30 and like even at 8:25, you can take a peek at the intention and just kind of think about it. I really hope that you enjoy what I have to say and that you take value and find value in what I have to say about all of this. But I think there's also a lot of wisdom about what your heart says about it and what your gut reaction is. There's a lot of awesomeness, a lot of personalized awesomeness within that. So yeah, take the opportunity to do that if you'd like to. So this week, fresh awareness taps into influential energy. I always trip up on that word, so I'm going to try my best tonight. Fresh awareness taps into influential energy. Hey ladies, looking in the comments. Hi Mary, Katie, Melissa, thank you for being here. I appreciate you ladies. And everybody else is here as well, because I can see that we have several more people on right now. So thank you all of you for being here. And just like we're seeing in the comments, yes, happy almost full moon. We're going to talk about the full moon this week. Part of our intention here that we have. So fresh awareness taps into influential energy. Hey Nikita, glad to see you here too, as always. And Tom, all of you guys, thank you for being here. Always, always, always. So let's get to it, huh? As always, the intention is fed by the astrology going on in the sky. Taking a look at the aspects, the placements, what the planets are doing, if there's any ingresses, any sign changes, do we have a new moon, do we have a full moon, first quarter, third quarter, all of those type of things play in a little bit here. So we can look at each one of these transits individually, which is very, very beneficial. But what we do here at our meditation on Tuesday nights is we take all of the energies together and we kind of culminate them into the week. And then coming up with an intention phrase that is kind of a broad term that we can all share, and you can personalize it yourself if you want to. I totally encourage you to do so if you want to do that. And we can find a way, another angle to kind of lean into all of the energies together simultaneously. It's not about trying to change the energies or, I was going to say trying to bend them to our will or anything. It's more, I see it more as flowing along with, or trying to lean into the energies that are around. A way to co-create. That's one of my favorite words. I love thinking about being a co-creator with the universe or with God or with source or spirit or whatever that word is that works well for you. It allows us to find a way to tap into that all week. I keep my intention with me throughout the week. I write it on a sticky note and I keep it on my computer. I now have a planner for work where I have to keep a schedule, so I write it in there. So every time I open up my schedule throughout, which is several times throughout the week, I see the intention right there. So I keep it with me nice and close all the time, really, and remind myself of it, and it allows me to keep it at the forefront of my mind, and then I take the steps and take that initiative or the action or follow through on it or stay within that energy some way. So fresh awareness taps into influential energy. There's two parts to our intention this week. We have fresh awareness and we have influential energy, okay? So fresh awareness, we have a couple new perspectives here going on. So We talked extensively last week about Sun and Pluto, more specifically Pluto moving into the sign Aquarius. Pluto's going to stay there for the better half of the next 20 years, the next 2 decades. We'll have a short little while in the fall where Pluto will retrograde back to 29 degrees of Capricorn, but for basically until 2043, Pluto is in the sign of Aquarius. And that is fresh awareness. That is a changing of perspective and a change of focus. So whether or not Aquarius is a super, let's just say, quote unquote, not a super important part of your chart, or whether it is or not, there's still going to be a focus on that Aquarian house for the next 2 decades, or at the very, very least through the ingress. So at very least through the next year or so, as Pluto's making its way through those first couple degrees of Aquarius. So fresh awareness and a fresh focus. It's a new place. It's like Pluto, if you think of Pluto as like a magnifying glass. I often think of Pluto as a magnifying glass because you can do different things with a magnifying glass. You can focus on something intently, and you can see the detail within it. You can, see things that you can't see with the naked eye. But there's other things you can do with a magnifying glass too, right? You can channel the sun, and if you can get enough heat through the sun, you can generate heat through a magnifying glass. It is a piece of glass, so you could, it's a actual physical structure, so you could technically hold something on a magnifying glass. It's all of these different ways to focus on one little thing and make that little thing, I say little because even a magnifying glass, like typically a magnifying glass isn't huge, so like, I think no bigger than about this. Many of them are much smaller. It takes something that is kind of small and it puts a big focus on it. It might kind of enlarge or inhale it, but at the very least it puts a huge focus there. So huge focus moving from where Capricorn is in your life to where Aquarius is in your life. And Venus moves into Capricorn today. So Venus now in the sign of Capricorn is a new fresh awareness here. It's a fresh perspective. So Venus has been in the sign of Sagittarius, the fiery sign of Jupiter. We've talked quite a bit about that in the last month or so, where it's very forward-thinking. Both signs are forward-thinking, but very much like a positive optimist, okay? Sagittarius is a creative fire sign that wants to move forward and can have very broad and very vibrant ideas and very wide philosophical opinions and beliefs and wanting to learn all of these things. Very exuberant, very forward thinking and forward moving and wanting to know and learn all of the type of things, wanting to experience all of the type of things. Very passionate, very creative, and can be very knowledge based. So that's where Venus has been. Now Venus is moving into the sign of Capricorn, the earthly, stable, solid sign of the earthly sign of Saturn. So we move from a sign of Jupiter, the sign of the optimist and the abundance giver and the one that blesses, to the great benefic, to the so-called great malefic. So then we move into the sign of Saturn, the place that brings us more of a structure and brings things more to a centralized focus, maybe a little bit more restricted compared to Sagittarius, where it's ruled by the sign of Jupiter, or the planet of Jupiter, excuse me. So we've had this change of perspective and this change of focus for Venus, where Venus in Sagittarius was focused very much on looking forward to the next thing in this very positive, grab it type of way, this like almost a childlike type of excitement or exuberance for something, right? Now moving into the sign of Capricorn, where it's much more focused. It's much more dedicated to one thing. So Sagittarius, I think of kind of like the grab bag of having our hands in a little bit of everything, because it's like, ooh, I want to experience this. Oh, I want to learn about this. And oh, hey, I want to go do this. And oh, hey, so-and-so is over there, so I'm going to go do this now. It's not that it doesn't necessarily have the attention span. Sometimes it can be that. But it's more that Sagittarius wants to, you know, it's like that you only live once. You only get one life to live, right? So it's very much, I want to experience it all. I want to do it all. Then we move into the sign of Capricorn. And now it's, I need to focus on this one thing that is at hand, so that way I can be sure that I do it right and I don't miss any steps, and I'm gonna do all the things that that I need to do in order to make this thing succeed, or this idea succeed, or move forward in whatever way we're trying to move forward. Very, very much dedicated. Maybe it's not the most playful Venus that we kind of think of typically with Venus. That's a little more Venus and Sag, but even though it's not maybe so light and playful, it's in maybe a little heavier place. Venus is very dedicated to the Venusian cause, in a way. So what does that even mean? What is like the Venusian cause? So like where we want to bring Venusian things into our lives. So the desires, the things that bring us happiness, the things that bring us balance within our life, the things that bring us harmony. What efforts should you take, or what actions will bring forth your desires? Where are you looking to bring harmony and balance into your life that you're willing to put in a little bit of work and put in a little bit of effort? Where, in that Saturn type way. We talked about Mars being exalted in the sign of Capricorn. That's because Mars is not afraid to take a little bit of work and take a little bit of action and do what needs to happen. So this is this fresh perspective and this fresh awareness for Venus and Capricorn. The awareness of Venus and Sagittarius was very widespread and very philosophical and very much reaching for the next thing while reaching for another thing at another time. Now we're in Capricorn. We're much more focused. Maybe a little bit tunnel vision, maybe. That can be good and bad, right? Depends on where it is. And bringing a Venusian focus to where Capricorn is in your own chart, of course. So if Venus was in the sign of Sagittarius, have you seen any changes or any sort of influence in the last 6 weeks or so in that house? Now moving into Capricorn, now Venus is going to look to bring some sort of, or at least have the desire to bring some sort of balance and harmony to where Capricorn is in your life. You know, the house that you find Capricorn in is one of these houses that it's a house where it seems where in order to kind of keep the status quo, it takes a lot of work on some level. And if you think about where Capricorn is in your own chart, you can think about how it's kind of just one of those things where it's like, damn, you know, it always works out, but I need to, like, it always takes a lot of work. It feels like I'm always working to keep the balance where Capricorn is in your life. And that's part of Saturn. That's part of the Saturn-Mars thing that we have that goes on in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is very dedicated, very much like nose to the grind type of area. So where we see Capricorn, where we start to see that archetype showing up in our own chart, we have that, like, there's always one more step that we need to climb, one more ring on the ladder type of thing. So see where that makes a little bit of sense too within your own chart and your own life as well. So we have Pluto moving into Aquarius. We have Venus moving into the sign of Capricorn. We have full moon in the sign of Leo. So happy Leo full moon. That's on Thursday. So today is Venus moving into the sign of Capricorn. And then on Thursday we have the full moon at 5 degrees of Leo. That is at 12:52 p.m. Eastern time. You have to translate that to your own time zone if you live elsewhere where I do. Also, if you wanted the exact time and you are in the Eastern time zone, it may be just a couple minutes different for you. But Thursday midday. That's where we land. So the full moon that we have in the sign of Leo. So our intention this week, fresh awareness taps into influential energy. When we have a full moon in the sign of Leo, we have the moon in the place of the sun, okay? Leo is the sun is the ruler of Leo. So Leo is a very bright, a very extroverted, and a very solar place, okay? So we have a full moon here. We have the height and the full illumination of this lunar cycle, the culmination and the height of it. So where everything that has led up from the new moon to the full moon has been in a building phase. And now we're at like the top of the phase, okay? So now we are just at the point where the fruits of our labor are starting to bear, and we're gonna start to reap the benefits of what we have worked for, or what has come about within this lunar cycle. And we're doing so in the place of the sun, okay? Leo is often represents a childlike energy, often can represent a kind of, on another level, a regal and kingly type energy. The connection and the commonality between the two of these is it's like the display of happiness and this like display of positivity. So if you think of like royal, not necessarily like the king as like being like the ruler, but like the majestic quality of the king, right? So it's the person that I feel like when I don't know, I'm from the United States and our government's so messed up right now that like we don't have a king. Lots of places don't have a king, but like, yeah, I don't know, yeah, I'm just gonna stop there. I'm just gonna stop there on that one. Not gonna go off on a tangent. But this regal and this uplifting energy of the king, right? The one that supports all, the one that is, the one that lifts us up. And if you think of children, that childlike energy lifts us up as well. So Leo is a place that lifts us up. And I feel like often can be a very influential energy in the sign of Leo. All the signs can be very much, very influential, but Leo is like, it's like the extrovert of the extrovert. I have lots of Leos around me. I think it's because it's my midheaven, and I have Jupiter in the sign of Leo as well. I have lots of Leos around me, and it's the opposite of mine, but I love the Leo energy. I'm looking in the comments. Katie says so much hair. Yeah, Leos, if you know anybody that's a Leo rising, in fact, sometimes you can see that somebody is a Leo rising just by their nice hair. And like, think of like a lion's mane, right? They have a lot of hair and they have thick hair. Clearly I'm not a strong Leo. But yeah, so we have this full moon just in the sign of Leo. So, all right, I'm gonna catch up on the comments here really quick, just because there's a few of them. Yeah, I'm gonna stay away from politics, Tom. I go there for half a second and then I'm like, nope, not even gonna be there. Likes parties and being seen, from my experience, for the Leo friends. Yeah, it's that regal display. It's that very forward, very outward energy. Nikita, yeah, you have Leo sun and moon. You are a Leo new moon baby. I love it. And you remembered that too. I love it. And the Leo suns. Look at the Leo energy we have here showing up. So happy full moon to you, Leo folks. Because if you have strong Leo placements too, this full moon is especially powerful for you. Or if it makes any aspects to planets of your own as well. So, ingresses this week, and the full moon, an illumination of things. So the fresh awareness that I feel coming through the full moon here is just the fact that we're at the midpoint of the cycle, okay? So it's a fresh awareness of, think of being on a Ferris wheel. Think about being on a Ferris wheel, and think about how you get on the Ferris wheel, you start at the bottom and you come up to the top. When you're at the top of that Ferris wheel, that's the place that you always, like, as a kid, you always want to get stuck at the top, right? Like, well, if you like heights, I liked heights, so I always wanted to get stuck at the top of the Ferris wheel. For me, it was always like almost at the bottom, and I was like, well, this is lame. But when you get up to the top of that Ferris wheel, you have a fresh perspective and maybe even a fresh awareness for what is going on. You can see everything that is on this side and yet everything that is on this side. So everything that from your ride up that you've already seen and that you've already experienced, you can see all of that still. In kind of like a retrospective type way if we're thinking about this symbolically, because of course we're not riding a Ferris wheel all month long. We're using this as a metaphor for the moon cycle. But as you come up to the top, you can still see retrospectively everything that you've already experienced from the first half. And now you're also looking forward, so you can see where you've come and everything that's already happened, but you can also start to see what's on the other side. You can start to see the fruit that is being bared. You can start to see the what is culminating or what is coming to show through this lunar cycle, even though you know that there's still more steps in front here to come yet. So I feel like once we get to the full moon, it kind of gives us a fresh awareness of where we've been and where we're going type of situation here. And then just the fact that the full moon is in the sign of the sun. So the moon will be in the place of the sun, very illuminating, very bright, can be very, very extravagant. And you know, I'm just gonna say that it can also be, full moons in general can be an emotional time, but I think when the moon is in the place of the sun, so we're always activating the sun and the moon at the full moon, but we have this almost like double activation in a way, if that kind of makes sense, since we're activating the sun through the full moon as well as the moon being in Leo in the place of the sun. So the full moon that we have here, and during the couple aspects that we have in the later part of the week, they're going to be a part of the full moon too. They're going to be in the applying aspect, the applying range, so that's going to make it stronger than if it was on the separating range or if the exact had already happened. So sorry, I lost my train of thought there for just a second. Squirrel brain. So full moon coming through on Thursday. Friday we have square between the sun and Jupiter. So we can say that this one is pretty much exact during the time of the full moon. So that would mean that Jupiter is squaring the full moon, squaring the moon and the sun at the same time here, right? And this square here, this isn't as far as a fresh perspective, this isn't a new start like our ingresses, like Venus moving to Capricorn and Pluto moving to Aquarius. But it's a new phase in the Sun-Jupiter cycles, okay? So Sun-Jupiter cycles are about a year long. If we look at from conjunction to conjunction, from the time that the sun comes and reaches where Jupiter is, it happens once a year because the sun moves much faster than Jupiter does. Jupiter stays in each sign for about a year. It takes about 12 years to go all the way around the zodiac. So we're now coming into what is called a closing square between the sun and Jupiter. It's the last leg for this cycle that started in April of last year in the sign of Aries. So typically, in most signs, we will have a conjunction in each sign. So last year in the sign of Aries, the year before that in the sign of Pisces, this year it's going to be in the sign of Taurus. So Thinking about what started where Aries is in your own chart. This is one of those things that are much more specific to you. So if you know what house Aries is in your own chart, then it's a little bit easier to figure out or to think about. But if you think to April of last year, think about where Jupiter has been working. What kind of abundances, what kind of new knowledge, new information, new blessings has come to you in that area. So maybe something that was initiated in April of last year. Maybe it was just the seeding point or the thought. Doesn't necessarily mean that you acted on anything in April of last year. In fact, you probably didn't, because this was the seeding point last year. So we had this initiation last April between Sun and Jupiter. So wherever Aries is within your chart, there has been some sort of working of some sort of blessing or some sort of abundance, maybe some sort of ease where Aries is. Something started that would expand, well, where Aries is in your chart. I'm a Scorpio rising, so Aries is my 6th house, my house of health and daily routine. And I've said this before, I don't like to just talk about myself, but like for me, around last April, that's the time that I started wondering if I should be looking for a new job or not, from where my current employer was at that time. Since then, I have found a new job and I have started a new job, and I'm just looking to see what else comes from this cycle. So I have since settled in to my new role. So now that we're coming into this closing square with Jupiter, things are starting to wind down for this Sun-Jupiter cycle here. So it's kind of like a waning energy. You could think of it kind of like a 3rd quarter moon for the Sun-Jupiter cycle. So if you think about last April, where maybe something was seeded, something was initiated, there was some sort of idea or thought or prompt of some kind to bring something new, to expand on something, to learn something new, or bring in some sort of philosophy or some sort of you've worked really, really hard, so let's make this a little bit easier for you type of situation. Being that we're at the 3rd quarter moon and we've already went through that, like, not that we're at the 3rd quarter moon, we're at the closing square, it's like a 3rd quarter moon. Since we're at that similar to a 3rd quarter moon stage, that means we've already went through the new moon stage. We've already been to which is the seeding point. We've already been through the full moon phase, which would be the opposition between the two planets. Gosh, I didn't write down the date for that. I should have had that date for you guys, so that way you guys could have kind of thought about this a little bit more without your chart necessarily, but just by the dates. So it's like we've already been through the full moon, which is the height of what was initiated. And now we're coming to what's like the 3rd quarter moon. So it's like the fruits of the labor have already been delivered. The abundances have already shown themselves of what was going to come from that cycle, and now things are starting to wind down a little bit. Things are starting to maybe level out, not be maybe quite so exciting if they were exciting for a while, and it's starting to get to where it can, you know, what needs to stay is gonna stay, and what parts need to, you know, drift away or return to the universe are gonna start to drift away. This starts to leave room to move into the next Sun-Jupiter cycle, which we will have when the Sun and Jupiter conjoin in the sign of Taurus. So this new fresh awareness is through the Sun and Jupiter is going to start to come our direction. It might not quite be here yet because we're still kind of finishing up this cycle, but the influential energy of this cycle is most definitely there. And it's baked right into this full moon. So the square Jupiter being square to the full moon and to the sun, more specifically for a longer period of time and more in a cyclical fashion, where is there a little bit of work that you still need to put in to bring forward this Jupiterian abundance? The place where Jupiter has been working, specifically the Sun and Jupiter together, now that we are at this last leg, it's like, okay, you've put in a lot of effort, you've worked really hard, I know you feel like you're done and you're tired, but you're not quite done yet. There's more blessings to come your way. It's a square though, so there's a little bit of work that you have to put into it. So this influential energy giving us the push to get through the rest of the cycle and to, you know, finish out strong here with that Leo energy that we have coming through of the full moon. And my favorite is the Mercury-Mars conjunction that we have on Saturday. So this aspect, Mercury and Mars coming together in the sign of Capricorn, where Mars is exalted. This is a super quick and a super efficient combination. Mercury and Mars, those are the two planets that I think of when I think of quickness, swiftness, and efficiency. Mercury and Mars together makes me think of the mastermind. It makes me think of somebody that has a very passionate mind, somebody that can work quickly and swiftly, somebody that has an agile mind and is able to maybe change their mind quickly. On the other hand, we have mindful actions. So we have a focus on either one or the other in these two. Like, we have the passionate mind and we have the mindful action, right? So we have like that Mars drive in the passion or in the action or in both at the same time. So this swift action and thinking can be a little like quick tongue too. So, you know, this swift action and this quick thinking, and this like quick to let words out, these can be positive or negative things. But Mercury and Mars coming together at the time of the full moon, at the height of the illumination of our lunar cycle here, we have Mercury and Mars, the planet of our mind, the planet of our thoughts and our perceptions, coming into interaction with the planet of ambition, drive, motivation, moving forward, in the sign of Capricorn, which is the planet of the sign of hardworking dedication. Very Mars-like, right? So at the full moon this week, while we have this fresh awareness from our recent sign changes of Pluto and Venus, we have this new initiation and this new start of a Mercury-Mars cycle that is going to initiate something within our mind, initiating something that unifies both our mind and our body, our mind and our actions, what we think and what we do. So there's great place to bring intention into that. There's great place for intention setting, resolution setting. You know, we're in January here, so people have started there's been New Year's resolutions. It might be one of those things where, like, if you made a resolution but you haven't quite followed through on it, this is great energy to follow through on those things you've been dragging your feet on a little bit. Either way, it's a new cycle starting. It's a fresh awareness and a fresh perspective, tapping into very influential energy. Anytime we have Mars in play, very, very influential. So I think this is really neat that we have this at the full moon this week, where at the place of the sun, where things are illuminated as brightly as they possibly can. They're on display in this regal type form. Jupiter has blessed us where in the Aries part of our life, we're getting ready to move, although Jupiter has been working in Taurus as well, since that's where Jupiter is now. We've had this blessing that started in the sign of Aries and has come not quite full circle, but we're making our way there. So we have a fresh perspective and a fresh something that has come into our life there. Now, with Mercury and Mars together, we can take those blessings and the things that Jupiter has kind of brought to the forefront for us, and where can we go now? What's the next step? Remember, Capricorn's always looking for that next step and the next thing that has to be done, right? So where are we going to go now? You have the energy to do so here. You have the mental capacity to do so here. Mercury and Mars. So like this weekend, if you are a mantra person, if you are an intention setting person, that's what we do here. So if you're here, you're probably an intention setting person. If you are somebody that journals, if you are somebody that writes in any sort of form or communicates, or if you want to start being that type of person or initiate something there, this is a great time to do so. We're not going to have this combination again until October of 2025. So this cycle is going to bring us through, what, like the next year and a half or so. So we will have this again, but it's going to be a little while, and you're going to be in a different place by then. So you're going to want to use this energy that we have available to us right now to tap into both the God of War and the Messenger of the Gods. Okay? So where are you willing to, like, where are you willing to fight? Where are you willing to fight for what Mercury wants to bring forward here? I'm seeing in the comments here, Sean, I just started journaling 2 days ago. That is absolutely perfect. As we're coming into the engagement range of this, you start journaling. That is absolutely fantastic. And I see Kevin's a Leo moon too. Look at all of this Leo energy that we have here. I just love it. That is just so wonderful the way that plays out. It always goes that way too. It really, really does. So we have fresh awareness. We have influential energy. We still have one more thing to talk about yet. We're not quite done yet. There's a lot going on this week. It's a super exciting week. We have Pluto and Venus changing signs, giving us a fresh awareness of those planets moving into different focus areas and different signs of our chart here. We have a full moon giving us that height perspective where we can see on both sides of us. We have the Sun-Jupiter square. We have Mercury and Mars conjoining each other. And to top it all off, by the end of the weekend, Uranus will be direct. Uranus has been retrograde since August, and Uranus is going to be stationing over the next couple days, and by Sunday, Uranus will be direct. So, we started thinking back to April. Think back to August. Think about like if you think of 2023, think of January to August, and then think of August to about now. What changed? What changed in August? Huh? Something changed, because in August, Uranus went from a forward motion to a retrograde motion. So there was some sort of reworking of breakthroughs and freedom that was had a little bit of pullback. If there was somewhere you were moving forward with Uranus and having some sort of breakthroughs, some sort of change, and we've been having to kind of rework things and change things since then. Now we're going to get ready to move forward again. So now this reworking that we've been going through, this reimagining and rethinking, and often, Uranus is the planet of rebellion, the planet of breakthroughs and breaking away from the mold, going against the grain. So often when that Uranus or that Uranian energy turns retrograde, there's a way that we can feel kind of stuck, and we can feel kind of like under the thumb of something a little bit. It can be like we are moving really forward, and then it's like all of a sudden the brakes are hit, and it's like, whoop, you're pulled back a little bit, and then you're kind of like stuck there. Okay, so like I'm thinking about like a seatbelt in a car. So like you're in the car and you're moving forward, and then all of a sudden the person that's driving slams on the brakes and you slam back into the seat. Now the seatbelt is holding you back. Maybe it locked into place with the where you pull it and it locks into place like you use for children. So now we're going to be able to start moving forward again. And this is not only going to be very influential energy of energizing us and motivating us to move forward a little bit, but also bringing in a fresh awareness of, I can do this. I can break away from this thing that's been holding me back a little bit. That was just a little speed bump. That was no big thing. Maybe it was a big thing to you, But now that you have this, you're on this side of it, you know that you can handle it and you can get through it. Not to downplay anything that people do or don't go through. So, how's that for some astrology for the week? Lots going on here. Yeah, fresh awareness taps into influential energy. There are some changes at hand. We talked last week about being in between. Our intention last week was I find benefit in the space in between. We talked a lot about being between Saturn signs. Well, not necessarily an in-between space anymore. We're not just sitting in Kansas anymore, are we? So now it's time to move forward here. Okay? Fresh awareness taps into influential energy. Fresh awareness taps into influential energy. With our meditations, and I apologize, I've been talking a lot lately. With our meditations lately, we've done a little bit of breath work. We've done a little bit of mindful movements. And Katie, bam, yep, that's what I like. That's a very Uranian word, like, bam, we can go forward, let's do it. Yeah, I like it. So anyways, in our meditations the last couple weeks, we've done some different breathing exercises and different breath work things and just connecting our mind and our body and our breath a little bit. I'd like to introduce another technique that I have talked about long time ago on old videos, but fresh awareness. We're going to bring in a little different perspective here, okay? So many of you may or may not be familiar with this, and either way is okay. Before we started the meditation, I just wanted to run through the breathing really quickly. So the breathing that we're going to use is called Ujjayi breath, more commonly called in English ocean breath. So we get that name because it's similar to kind of like hearing the ocean sound that you hear in a shell, that you can hear it around you. So with the Ujjayi breath, we're breathing in and out through our nose, both times through the inhale and through the exhale, okay? And when you breathe out through your nose on the exhale, it makes an audible breath that you can hear. It might sound kind of odd at first until you actually experience it, but you can hear it both inside your body and outside of your body at the same time. It's very focusing. It's a very, very empowering breath, and it's very integrating. It integrates our body and our mind, our physical body and our mind and our energy all together at the same time. So to perform the wow, I'm tripping all over. I usually can say that one. Ujjayi breath. When you breathe in, you will close your mouth and you will breathe in normally. And then when you breathe out, you're going to have your mouth closed and you're going to bring your tongue towards the roof of your mouth. So you're going to breathe in. And then on the exhale, you may not be able to hear it over the camera, or maybe you can, but I most certainly can hear it. So you breathe in normally through your nose, and if it takes you a couple times to get through this, that's okay. Breathe in normally through your nose, keep your mouth closed, and as you go to exhale, bring your tongue towards the roof of your mouth, and you constrict your throat a little bit at the same time. When you close your mouth and you kind of close your throat and constrict that airway, it pushes the air and centralizes it out through your nose. And when you can hear your own breath, the inhale and the exhale, a little bit loudly around you, it allows you to tap into the awareness of that breath. So that's what we're going to use during our meditation. I just wanted to walk through it just once before I prompt you to use the ocean breath during the meditation. So that's about all I got planned for the meditation. We'll just see where else it goes, because that's just how it rolls. That when I have things too solidly planned, they don't work out as well. I just have to let them flow. So that Ujjayi breath, breathing in through your nose, breathing out through your nose. Okay. If the other parts are too difficult, are like kind of a lot to try to deal with at first or to try to focus on, just try to focus on breathing in through your nose and out through your nose at the same time. The other parts will just kind of come right along with it. Okay. I promise. So one last look at the intention up there on the screen. Fresh awareness taps into influential energy. Bring that down. We're going to light our intentional candle and we're going to move on with our meditation. Okay? So we have our intentional candle. It's always white, a color of purity, a color of clarity, a color of protection, a color of divinity, a color of a lack of color, right? So you can take this white candle and you can change it into any color it is that you feel like it should be energetically in your own mind. You have your own candle? Light your own candle. Go for it, okay? So I'm going to light the intentional candle, and as we do so, I'm going to think of the intention in my head as it lights. As the flame ignites and grows, so does our intention. Fresh awareness taps into influential energy. Fresh awareness taps into influential energy. Lots of influential energy at hand here. Lots of fresh perspectives. Lots of fresh takes and fresh awareness within cycles that we are processing our way through. Fresh little tidbits to bring in, to maybe bring in different thoughts, different opinions, different ways of looking at things, different ways of blessing things. Venus is the other benefic planet and brings us wonderful blessings of harmony and love and desire and friendship and beautiful, wonderful things. So when we have Venus moving, changing signs, changing that perspective of Venusian desires, that's where we're at here, okay? So let's get ready to settle into our meditation here. If you haven't already, find a nice comfortable position. Since you sat here and listened to me talk for a long time, get out any last little like wiggles or fidgets or anything that it is that you have to do. Wiggle your body, stand up, jump around, do jumping jacks, whatever it is. Maybe you have that Mercury-Mars energy within you. And then bring yourself to a comfortable seat, a comfortable position of stillness. And as always, before making any changes, take a moment to check in with your breath and where you are at in this moment. Start by closing your eyes if you're ready to do so. And if you're not quite ready to do so, just try to soften your gaze. Try not to focus so intently on the screen that may be in front of you or your surroundings around you. Maybe just let your gaze fall wherever it just kind of naturally falls and just look beyond the space where you are in a way. And as you feel ready to do so, you may close your eyes. And we start to move towards a space of stillness. We start to move towards a space of contemplation. And we start to move towards that space by taking stock of the energy level that we have right now. What is the level of energy that you showed up to this practice with? How about your breath? How is the quality of your breath at this moment? Is it fast or slow? Is it deep or is it shallow? Is it efficient or is it a bit nervous? Once you've taken a moment to take recognition for where you are right now and make space for where your body and your energy is right this very moment, we start to deepen the breath. So on the inhale, you take in a nice deep breath, and you feel that air start to go down your throat, cooling as it moves down into your lungs. And as that air fills your lungs, you start to feel your lungs expand, opening and accepting of that wonderful life-giving oxygen that is coming into your lungs. As your lungs begin to expand, you notice other changes within your physical body as well. Your diaphragm starts to lower, making space for the expansion of your lungs. Perhaps your abdomen starts to distend as your navel moves away from your spine, making lots of room for that lovely, lovely energy and oxygen that is coming into your body. And as you exhale, you slowly start to release this air and this oxygen and this energy that is within you. Your abdomen starts to move back to a neutral place towards your spine, as your diaphragm moves back up into its neutral position, letting out all of the oxygen that is in your lungs, as well as byproducts of our respiratory system, as well as any stress and tension that you may be holding. Next breath in, breathing in, lovely, life-giving energy, beautiful, wonderful oxygen filling our lungs and our body. And on the exhale, release, letting go of all that is in your lungs, as well as something that you are ready to let go of. Some sort of stress or tension, some sort of mental blockage, maybe an emotion, maybe a feeling. Maybe it's a physical condition. Maybe it's a mental condition or a spiritual condition. On our next round of breath, let's attempt to tap into our ocean breath. Let's tap into that UIG breath. So as you breathe in and out, I encourage you to step into a fresh awareness of breathing in and out, both through your nose, with your mouth closed. So, next breath in, and out. Good. Take another nice deep breath in through your nose. Feel that oxygen coming and entering your nostrils, cooling your nasal passage as it moves down behind your mouth into your throat. The air has now been warmed by your body as it comes into your lungs. And once you've inhaled as much air as you possibly can, let's hold here for just a moment if possible. On the exhale, through your nose. You hear the audible breath as that air passes through from your throat up to your nasal passage and out your nose. After pausing for just a moment on the exhale, take another deep breath in. Ujjayi breath, ocean breath. Exhale. Next breath in through your nose. Holding at the top for just a moment before you prepare to exhale, bringing your tongue towards the roof of your mouth, constricting your throat, pushing that air back up from your lungs, through your throat, up past your mouth, into your nasal passage, and out your nostrils. Continue finding that ocean breath, that audible breath that you can hear and feel internally as well as externally at your own pace. Tapping into this fresh awareness of energy within your body that's cultivating through this ocean breath, through this audible breath that you can both feel and hear physically and energetically. On this week of the full moon in the sign of Leo, while Jupiter is squaring the full moon, and Mars and Mercury are coming together, illuminating our mind and our thoughts and our ambitions. We are being called by this influential energy to move forward, to finish cycles, to complete and move forward. We're being called to initiate in the sign of Capricorn after finishing a long Pluto cycle in the sign of Capricorn. Isn't that just amazing to think about? After Pluto has went through the sign of Capricorn, causing upheaval, bringing things up from below, putting a focus on things as if there's a magnifying glass over the sign of Capricorn. Pluto moves into the sign of Aquarius, and just after that, Mars and Mercury come together in the sign of Capricorn, paving the way for a new cycle to start. Something to initiate, an action to take, a motivation, a thought, a prompt. This fresh awareness taps into the influential energy of the full moon as it's all culminating at the same time. Jupiter squaring the full moon tells us the effort will be worth it. Your hard work and your sacrifice and your climbing to that next step is going to move you forward so many levels. Sun squaring Jupiter in a closing square. The last fourth of the Sun-Jupiter cycle is at hand. The wrapping up and the ending of one cycle so we can begin anew with another. Continuing, breathing in and out in the fashion of this Ujjayi breath, feeling that and hearing that ocean sound within you as we contemplate the energies in the sky, tapping into that fresh new awareness of this breathing method and the energy that it cultivates at the same time. While all of these energies are culminating together this week, Uranus, the planet of liberation and rebellion, planet associated with the Promethean god who stole fire from the gods and brought it to mankind in the form of enlightenment, knowledge, information, breakthroughs, invention, breaking from the mold and starting something new. This planet of Uranus has been moving in a backwards fashion in the sign of Taurus since August. For months, our forward motion in something could have been halted or squandered, or at the very least tested. But you made it through that retrograde period. Reward yourself with the biggest and fullest breath you've taken all day. You've made it through this Uranus retrograde period. The turbulence and the rocky roads, although they may not disappear, will lighten a little bit. So as we go forward into the rest of this week, as the moon continues to grow in its last little bit of illumination here, coming into fullness, we move forward with the special motivation of Mercury and Mars. At the next exhale, let's meet at the bottom of the breath and take one nice deep breath in together. This time, we will not exhale through our nose, but we will exhale through our mouth audibly so we can hear that as well. So I want you to take in the biggest breath you've taken in all day, perhaps the biggest breath you've ever taken in your life. So big you feel your chest fill up, maybe it even puffs forward slightly as your chin lifts. And then exhale that breath through your mouth. Open your mouth wide and let out the biggest exhale, perhaps even with a bit of a sigh, that you have let out in a long while. Again, one more nice deep breath in to close our meditation. And exhale. That felt so good. Let's do that one more time together in silence without our music. Breathing in through our nose. Exhaling audibly through the mouth. And that, my friends, is our meditation for this week. Ujjayi breath, ocean breath. Said it right that time. I don't know what's going on with me today. Yeah, I think this Ujjayi breath is great for the Mercury-Mars combination and all of these energies culminating together that we have all together, honestly. But I find that breath is very integrating and invigorating at the same time. And, you know, I feel like with Jupiter squaring the Sun, integration, okay? Invigorating is Mercury and Mars coming together. The fresh awareness is trying a new breath that you may not have tried before. Or even just changing our breath from where we were at before. Because, you know, maybe you've practiced this breath before, just as I have. Maybe you even practice it regularly. But at the same time, if you weren't breathing in that fashion before we started, then you start breathing into it, you're bringing in that fresh awareness within your breath. So it doesn't even mean that it has to be something that you've never experienced before for it to be a fresh awareness. It can just be another perspective. So I like the changes that we have this week. I like Venus moving into the sign of Capricorn. You know, that gives another nice little flair too to what's going on in Capricorn with Mercury and Mars together, coming together in this swift, agile, very passionate and efficient mind in action fashion. Then Venus comes into the sign of Capricorn. So where Mercury and Mars together in the sign of Capricorn especially can be, you know, Capricorn on its own can be this way, but the combination together can be a bit brash. It can be, I mentioned quick tongue earlier, so it can be a little cutting with the tongue, a little sharp-tongued. That sharp-tongued is a very textbook example of Mercury and Mars coming together. But with Venus coming into the sign of Capricorn, we have a little softness coming in here as well. So if we have the quintessential masculine energy with Mars in the sign of Capricorn, we now also have the quintessential feminine energy. So we have a bit of a balance coming in here to this earth sign. And earth signs being solid, being signs that like groundedness in general, they like that balance. Earth signs need balance in different ways. So, very, very lovely energy. Thank you, all of you. I appreciate all of you and all of you guys saying that this was just great and needed. So, yeah, I appreciate all of you. And New Intention will be out next week. You can look for that on Sunday. Facebook page, Instagram page, YouTube, community tab. or the website, meditativeastrology.com. Also started something new this year that I wanted to bring into it last year, never really happened, but there are now going to be service discounts within the season of your sun sign. So those you Aquarians that have birthdays coming up, check out meditativeastrology.com to see what's available for you for the birthday. Just a little like gift to each and every one of you as a possibility. So there's reading discounts during your sun sign season. So if you're an Aquarius and you're looking for any sort of service at all, take a peek at that. If not, I'll see you here next Tuesday. Either way, I'm looking forward to seeing you again, and reach out anytime through social media or the website. So hope you all have a great week. Happy full moon, happy Venus in Capricorn, and happy Mercury and Mars. See where your mind takes you. See what kind of resources come your way. We talk a lot about resources with Mercury, even if I didn't mention that today. And see what comes up for you over the weekend. Last weekend was powerful. This weekend's powerful as well. So hope you all have a great day, great week, and a great life. I don't know. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mwah. Have a good one.